Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Here we go.
Do you like edit all this?
Do we?
Yeah, or are you just going to send this from the SD card right up to the podcast?
Probably.
Probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So, welcome back, Internet, to Makers on Tap.
Yeah.
This is the post-TH3D sleepover episode. And none of us are on tap now because, boy, that was a fun night. We had a great time.
It's also like 12:30 on a Sunday right now.
It's 12:30, which
in the
means
morning
we can drink.
or afternoon. Not
right.
not night when normally you guys
Yes,
record.
normally we're
going to start
at
recording at 9. At 10 o'clock, it's like, should we start recording now?
night. Yeah.
I think we kind of just accepted. Like I was like thinking the stream was like, yeah, part of this stream will be in their podcast, and then that never happened.
That never happened. No, we had a great time though. So
did Aaron.
So speaking of Aaron, who's here? So this is Joe.
This is Chris.
This is Joe from Project R3D.
And this is Tim from TH3D Studio.
And you'll notice a severe lack of Aaron, who is asleep on the couch and I cannot get to move.
He's now the guest.
Yeah, Aaron is now the guest host.
Chris has finally relinquished that title.
I have regained my hostnessness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, what are those?
What is this?
Oh, coffee.
Ooh.
Madrinas.
Ooh.
I have more of the cup. You want coffee?
No, I'm good.
Are you
Take
serious?
this.
This stuff's amazing.
So
I haven't had
Linus
it. I don't-
Tech Tips brand.
so we're now getting handed cold brew coffee drinks, and there is a Linus Tech Tips coffee.
Limited
Yeah.
edition.
It's really good.
That is great. I will post a picture of this on,
Do you want
on
this
our
one?
on our Twitters. No, that's fine. But yeah. So last night was hilarious. Who all did we have here? We had Jim from Edge of Tech.
We had Jim from Philiblend.
And Jim from Philiblend.
Yep.
There are two Jims. There's two Joes. It was very confusing.
Yes, there was a lot of what going on
Yes.
all night.
And today.
Yeah, and today. And then those were all the guests, I guess, that we had. But
Jim's wife,
Lindsay
was
yeah,
here. Jim, the Edge of Tech's wife, was here.
Yeah.
yes.
Lindsay, and they're expecting a boy in May. Yeah.
Are they naming it Tim?
I don't know. I tried buying naming rights for the child, but the best I could do was naming rights for his makerspace garage.
Yeah, and I made him pay heavily.
Okay,
I bid against that.
to be fair, I'm pretty sure that started out with me drinking some Jack and Coke, and I fat fingered a 150 instead of a 50 because my brain wasn't doing math, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, and once it went over $300, I was like, nah,
boy.
I'm good.
This cold brew coffee tastes a whole lot like Yoo-Hoo.
Yes,
and
it
I
does.
am okay with it.
Yes, it
Yoo-Hoo,
does.
what is Yoo-Hoo?
What?
What? You
I've
grew
heard
up
of
in the
it.
Midwest.
I've heard it.
Oh, okay. Maybe I will have one of those.
There's more in that fridge. Right?
Okay, I will be right back.
So
It's from Madrinas, if anybody's wondering.
it's so good.
He bought out their entire stock on Black Friday.
They had them 50% because I think they're like $2 or $3 a can normally, and they're really good. And I basically live off of caffeine and nicotine. So
And they have them at Micro Center.
All
Oh,
right.
they do.
In the cooler.
They
Well,
do,
we're going
yeah.
to
In the
Micro Center
coolers.
on the way
you
home.
should shake it up a
Are you
little bit
serious?
before you, and just
Yeah.
give it a sec to sit.
I mean, that was always a discussion. I don't know if we'll
Do you
see.
guys do you remember Balls energy
yes.
drink?
Yes.
I found out I have a wholesale account with them from when I did LAN parties still, so I feel like I need to shoot them an email and be like, hey, can I put another order in?
Yes. So when are you doing your next LAN party?
That's a good question.
All right. Well, we're coming. This
it's
weekend
some-
has sealed it. We're coming.
I mean, basically the LAN party is not going to be much different from this weekend, except
A bunch of computers set up.
yeah, we're gonna have computers set up. We usually move all the stuff out of the garage. We're not gonna go swimming in February.
Well, no, the land party, people swam.
said it should be when it's warm, so we can go swimming.
Well,
Well, there could be two.
yeah, I was gonna say I'm thinking like probably sometime in February. I wanted to do this one this month, but there's been a lot going on. But yeah, it's
Yes.
fun.
That's
It's
fun.
gonna be a blast. I mean, I specifically pulled extra power into the garage for the LAN party stuff.
I'm pretty sure we can get enough heater cartridges to warm up that pool.
I mean, water boilers are just heater cartridges.
I don't think you understand how the pull works, it has to be opened, and then it would have to be closed again.
That sounds like a Tim issue.
Yes, not a me.
That's a
issue.
before we show up and an after we leave problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
So last night we did this live stream from Tim's excellent live stream setup. Like we really need to learn from this.
I do not know what the hell I'm doing. I'm
No,
just
so-
kind of like piecing stuff
but,
together.
like-
You're doing good. The thing is like you've actually spent money and you're doing quality.
Yes.
Like
I would use the term quality loosely.
Loosely.
you have a good setup. You have a Sony as your camera, which is phenomenal, especially for when you do low light. And then you have a Blue for your mic, which is like
The Blue Yeti. I mean, there's newer ones out, but I'm going to keep using that Yeti till it dies.
it's a nice mic. Like the only mic that I would like suggest going up from that is like you're going into like production or studio production quality after that.
Yeah.
Which-
like the XLRs like we use for
Yeah.
a podcast.
But I don't even think you're going to hear that much of a difference, to be honest.
Is that
I
a
mean,
compressor mic?
I don't know what
that
the Yeti is.
that
I don't
is
know.
a condenser mic.
Yeah.
It's gonna okay.
Yeah.
But
it-
I mean, the audio quality for like I think I paid $100 for it. It's fantastic.
Well, the big thing about Yetis for like things we did last night is they pick up the ghosts in the room. So when you have a room full of people talking, they're perfect.
Yeah.
Versus like the condenser mics we use, like they're turned down a little bit, so you have less background noise and
Yeah.
more like the deep, rich radio tones.
Well, here's the thing: the Yeti can do that. I actually changed. It's got a pattern setting,
Yeah.
and it's actually kind of cool because it does have two mics in it.
Yeah.
and you can do stereo. So if we were recording like this, right now we're sitting. Joe and I are on one side, and the other Joe and Chris are sitting on other. So if we had it in the center of the table, we could have stereo where we'd be in one channel and you guys would be in the other channel.
yeah.
But it does have a focused mode, which doesn't pick up much background noise. But I usually use like a noise gate and then noise reduction through OBS.
Yeah.
It does a really good job. I actually record all of our videos, whether it's live or recorded and edited.
Dodge drinking energy drinks.
She doesn't need it.
No.
I do everything through OBS. I don't record to SD on anything. Occasionally, I'll shoot video on my phone, and I've got a little. What is the name of it? It's like I think it's a DJI, but it's like a
Osmo?
gimbal, an Osmo. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Osmo too. And I use my Galaxy S10 Plus, which is, it's pretty good.
Yeah, phones are now becoming SLR quality for
They're
photos and
getting there.
videos, and
I mean, especially
frustrating.
like as much as I'm stuck in the ecosystem. The iPhone's new camera, the follow focus on it and everything is phenomenal. Like you
Yeah.
could shoot like production quality stuff with it, as well as like the OnePlus has an excellent camera, and like the Pixel has an excellent camera. Like we're getting to a point where you don't necessarily need that DSLR all the time. Like
I mean, the reality is if you have a flagship
Mine's
phone,
very dusty.
like if you have a flagship
pretty
phone
bad.
and not like the budget ones,
yeah,
you're getting really good video quality. Because even like my older LG V20, which I think is like a 5-year-old phone, shoots really good video.
Yeah.
Which I have it around here as just like an auxiliary device.
yeah.
But I like the Stream Decks. The Stream Deck, it was one of these things where I was like, because I have the XL, I think it was like 200, 250, and I had the smaller one. But man, once you get it and you put the money on it, you're
That
just
was
like,
so
I don't know.
handy,
Right?
So we had like 3 cameras and some screen caps going.
Yeah, so I have like all my scenes set up. So I've got like my left monitor, and above my monitors, I have a 58-inch TV. And both of those are set up as a scene. And then in the corner, I have the main camera, so you can still see what's going on. My arm camera, which is like the one we pull in and move around when we're doing stuff, was my old main camera, which is a Logitech Brio, which is a great camera if you want to do 1080 60. It does 4K 30, but I've never used it for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for 1080 60 for $150 webcam, it's really good. The only thing that sucks is the autofocus.
Yep.
But I've been very happy with the Sony A6000. You're going to shell out if you buy it new or new-ish. You're going to shell out between a capture card and the HDMI cable about $700. But it's amazing. Like the quality is just, I don't know how much better I can get.
Yeah.
I mean, we're making videos for YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like YouTube's going to immediately compress. Like, unfortunately, the only platform that doesn't compress is Vimeo, and like nobody uses Vimeo.
No, and I've been trying to find. I'm trying to get in on Floatplane because they finally Linus. If you guys are familiar, that's like Linus Tech Tips. It's like an offshoot. It's another company under their own umbrella.
Yeah.
And they're opening up to more creators now with all the crap with YouTube going on.
Yep.
So.
Because
Okay.
that's his like venture into like Patreon kind of stuff, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
he's
so
trying
it's
to-
like
a paid platform.
Yeah, so it's a paid platform, so creators can earn money, and it's also a video platform and a community platform,
okay.
which I think would do really well for us. And I know a lot of people are kind of itching to get off of YouTube.
We should dig into that.
I mean,
Like, we're not committed to anything other than our podcast right now, and we've got more aspirations. We should dig into that.
it's not a bad idea because we do have like people who want to support us and do stuff like that. So like, because the one avenue that I didn't want to do Patreon. I thought Patreon was like not the greatest idea for us. But
We
like
have patrons now, though.
we do, which like thank you. I didn't know like but like my one thing was I was gonna be like, well, it would be kind of cool if we could do like a once a month like Twitch stream and like have people who support us on that, and like we can do like one-off shoots and like, hey, this is me in my shop and whatnot. But like you've been doing stuff on YouTube for a while, and like that seems to be going pretty well for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. My channel, the TH3D channel, originally was like my personal channel, and there was just like cell phone videos. And if you actually go back, there's some of them up there. There's like a video of me removing like an HTC Vive print from my ANET A8, and really, really crappy videos. But those videos have like almost 100,000 views on them, and people still go to them. And you know, I could go crazy and buy higher end equipment, but I don't feel it's worth it. And I feel like once you get to a certain point, it just adds complication to things. I mean, like just for my setup here, I've had to. Is my audio level bad? What are you doing?
You're good.
Okay. You know, you've got issues with USB. I don't know if you guys ever encountered this, but I ran out of resources on my motherboard's USB controller. So I had to go purchase separate PCI Express adapter cards to get more USB host controllers because you can only have so many resources. And you're plugging, you know, I've got my microscope as a camera. I've got a auxiliary 922 for just a backup camera. I've got the Brio, the Camlink, and a bunch of other stuff. I got 3 mics plugged into it. They're all USB. Because I have 2 wireless mic packs too. We didn't use that, but I have 2 wireless mic packs that we use.
I've never run into too many USBs
Yeah.
before. This is a new problem that's
It is.
exciting.
Dude, when I was doing graphic design, like I ran into that all the time because
Yeah,
I'd have
it's a
like,
weird
my-
issue because you plug it in, it's like there's not enough resources. Like, what
Yep.
do you mean? USB says I can plug 128 devices into it. Nope,
Yeah.
no, you can't, because like that one device, your camera sucks up a nice pool of that,
Yep.
and you'll get these weird issues where it may not throw the error, but you start turning on all the cameras at once because when you fire up OBS, it turns on all the cameras so they're live when you go to switch a scene.
yeah.
And there's one company, StarTech, makes a card, and I don't have it in my computer right now because it failed after a year. And the new one they sent me doesn't work. So, but they made a card. It worked for
Solid
it worked.
recommendation.
And it was a $100 USB card. But the reason I got it is it had 4 separate ports, and each port had its own USB 3 host controller. So I could then
I think
plug
I
a
have
hub.
that one.
I then plugged a hub into each port, and then I could plug a couple devices into each one and not have to
Yeah.
worry about it. But I have some like $30 ones that actually pull power from the PCI Express bus. So I don't have to have like the
Yep.
supplementary one. But anyways, I got 2 separate cards in there, and it's a matter of I think it's called USB tree, but you can see the resource allocation on each controller, and then I basically just go around and move stuff around until the resources are not maxed out on any of them, so I
Right.
don't have to worry about it. And then I had an Amazon Basics hub that just decided to drop audio all the time, so I recorded like 3 instructional videos, and the
yeah.
audio would just go to edit it. I'm like, cool, I got these videos all shot, they're all done, I just got to edit them, pull them into Sony Vegas, and Magix Vegas now. They rebranded. That's what I use. And I'm like, where's my audio track?
But remember when we were using USB mics and I would turn into the Arrow every once in a while?
It was it was great. So we used to like we used to do our meetings like all through
Hangout.
Jitsi. No, it was Jitsi and Hangouts.
Yeah,
like we would
depended.
flip between them. We went in to do this officer meeting once, and like he joins it, and he sounds normal for all of about like a minute, and then just drops into like, "This is my city." Like, you have failed. And it was just like we were having him say all the lines from the show, and it was great. It like just crapped out completely, and like we couldn't figure it out. But we were like, we're gonna enjoy it while it's happening.
Yes, it was great.
I have a program I bought called Voice Mod that integrates with Stream Deck, and it's got like all these voice changers.
Yeah.
And I got to reinstall it. I hate reinstalling my OS. It's like I go to use a program, it's like, now I got to find my license
But at the
key.
same time, I kind of love that because then, like, I have a clean computer that works. And
Yeah, this was just running weird, and I'm like, I'm just going to reformat it, and it fixed everything.
Yeah, I
I'm
need
like-
to do that with my laptop because, like, virtualization should work and doesn't, and
It's
like,
weird.
all
It's-
kinds of stupid.
And it's
crap.
on. I've noticed even on all OSs, like even on some of my Linux boxes, it's like I'm just going to start over.
Oh, and the best part about Linux is like 10 minutes. You're started over, and then I just have an apt-get script that just reinstalls
everything.
everything.
I mean,
And-
Windows 10, I installed off of a USB 3 Samsung drive, and
Yeah.
on this, I've got an NVMe drive that's like 3 gigs a second. I'm seeing how fast storage has gotten, and cheap.
Yes.
And I think 5 minutes I was in Windows with my account logged in.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's
Whoa.
I was on the. It took me almost as long to click through and redo my partition setups than it did to actually copy over all the files, and then it was
Yeah.
like, but I mean, it's got a 9900K in it and an NVMe. I think I have a SanDisk NVMe. It's like the SanDisk Extreme 1
Okay,
terabyte.
yeah.
Do you have any spinning rust in your computer?
I do. I have three terabyte drives.
Yeah, I switched completely to solid state for my cold storage, pretty much. And I have 3 NVMe's.
That must be nice.
So
I spent too much on my chair. I can't afford all this. But I do have a software on here called DrivePool and Primo Cache, and what DrivePool does is you can throw whatever drives in there. You can set like I want 2 copies of the files in these folder. I just have it 2 copies of everything, and it handles all that. And it's like 2% CPU overhead. And when you've got 8 cores and 16 threads, who cares?
Right.
But you couple that with Primo Cache, and Primo Cache can take any SSD, and it caches the data going to and from those drives. So I have a 500 gig NVMe in there just as a cache for my 3 terabytes. So all my stuff that's commonly used gets cached on those, and those programs both work together. So, all my they're Western Digital Reds. They're older, but they work.
Yeah.
But I get this is the best of both worlds. I had an
Yeah.
extra NVMe slot. So
So-
that drive was $50 for an NVME drive.
yeah.
Wow.
It was a crucial.
Like, dude,
So
I
hang on.
paid $400
hang on.
for my SanDisk, but the SanDisk is way faster.
We're going to go into one of our segments that I like to call "Is it this or that?" Now, is it cache or cache?
Cache.
cash.
It's cash.
It's cache. All right.
Is it GIF or GIF?
Depends on if you want to put your pinky up.
It's GIF.
It's GIF.
It's
graphical
It's GIF.
image format. GIF.
Do you when you say God, do you,
Do you say
Jod?
GIF?
Do you really? You do not
say
say
GIF?
GIF.
I
Joe?
do not say GIF,
Okay.
but at the same
You're-
time, the creator says it's GIF,
creator.
and like, and the there are like George, and like there's like so many like rules in English that say it should be GIF, but it's GIF.
Okay. Okay. We were about to
But
like
we also
have
have
words.
we also have the
Oh, we
rule,
were.
like in the English language, that like gift is not gift.
Yeah.
So,
But like there,
we can't really go by rules. There's no such thing as rules in the English
Did you
language.
guys
It's
see
just-
that cool GIF I sent you?
it's about Jiffy Lube.
Giphy Lube?
Yeah. So I keep trying to get to this, and I'm gonna like. So on the live stream last night, we built this pile of crap through CNC machine behind me, and oh my
it
god,
looks the part.
it
You can take some good photos of it,
yeah
and that's about the best quality you're going to get out of it.
yeah. So
I am going to get that thing running.
I would like to. And the next time we come, I'm gonna bring some end mills and we're gonna break some shit.
I
with it.
would want to just eat it. Just let's just go full force.
I want to like take some passes with it that I think it will do, and then we should
then-
just
and then
like,
go
go
like
full
100%.
depth in the 3/4 inch MDF and see what happens.
I think the best way to get that thing working is adding
Hand
wheels,
cranks.
hand crank wheels on each side of the lead screw, and call it a fucking day.
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
that would fix the whole controller not working out of the box thing.
Yeah, so this is one of those $150 CNC machines that you see on Amazon, the, like Sane Smart's making and stuff. But Banggood sent it to Tim as a review machine, and that was dumb.
Probably the we just opened. I don't think we've done any affiliate stuff with Banggood. And they contacted us, and I handed off to Aaron, and Aaron's like, "I'm gonna send us a little CNC." I was like, "That's something I'd be interested in, just to get the hang of it, you know."
Yeah.
Because we do have a larger machine that's actually semi-rigid. It's like a halfway decent machine.
Yeah,
But like this thing, as soon as I looked at the board and I saw they couldn't even spring the extra like $2 for actual Allegro 4988s, and they got the HR 4988s, which are a Chinese knockoff of it. I'm like, this is gonna be good.
yeah, yeah. So they didn't send us enough bolts, which is normal. And then I can't decide if the plastic pieces are cut wrong or what. But
I think it's just a
Y-axis lead screw doesn't turn anymore after you get it assembled
The
and
X,
aligned.
not the Y. The X,
Yeah,
the Y
X.
moves.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a discrepancy in like the many revisions of the same machine from like
Yes.
10 different Shenzhen manufacturers making the same thing and ripping it off over and over again from each other.
Yeah. We couldn't flash firmware onto the board. The board did connect, and we were able to jog every stepper motor for about 1 second before it would disconnect.
I don't understand why that would happen.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be either a firmware issue. I'm going to take some. I have a bunch. We sell 4988s that are actually Allegros, and I'm going to try
should've
swapping
done
those
that.
out. Yeah, then we have to walk out to the shop, and it was cold.
It was cold.
Well,
it was like
let's be
raining
honest.
ice last night.
You got it for a review, and I think that currently on YouTube there is a 3-hour thorough review of that printer. Or of that.
You store your streams?
CNC.
Is that up?
Oh yeah, it's up. I saw
Yeah,
it
it's
this
up. There's a
morning.
VOD. Yeah, that'll be good. I think except with exception to Aaron,
I think all of it was to the point and concise. The best review on YouTube.
Yeah.
I just stole my idea from Design Prototype Test. We know that.
Yeah,
Right.
I think we all do that.
That's how I get my ideas.
I know.
Yeah.
So
Joe, you didn't want to even get the tool changer until what 6, 7, 8 a year before he got his.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you stole that from him, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I'm actually not half time. But when I'm gonna post once I get it running, I'm going to post like not a live video but an edited video, and I'm probably going to literally just make it look as close to his as possible, just to see if he whines about it.
I would like to participate in this.
You got to get that like.
I love poking trolls.
Well, like I don't
That's why
get
Aaron's my friend.
it's I don't understand that guy because it's just like. Just focus your energy on your content. Like, just because, like, it'd be like me whining, oh, Teaching Tech did a review on the Ender 3, and they're stealing my idea to do a review on the Ender 3. Like,
I don't get it. He's a relatively smart dude, and the videos that he makes where he's not complaining about other people are semi-enjoyable. Like, just put a little
He
effort
could
into
do
your
some
own-
cool projects if
Yeah.
he concentrated on doing some cool projects like the rest of us do.
Yeah.
the only thing is he's got two videos that really grind my gears.
Is it the tool changer review video where
I
he just
couldn't
shreds
get
it
through
in
it.
the most stupid way
I
possible?
couldn't get
And
past it. I
leave
just,
it to
like-
the saint that is Greg
Oh,
to give him the most beautiful British fuck you.
Remember that.
I'm out of the
You
loop.
are
on this one,
amazing.
apparently.
Oh, it's great. You need to watch it. He spends an hour shredding the tool changer for like being engineering porn and like they're adding so much cost and unnecessariness into
Are
this.
you talking about this design prototype test? Or
Yep.
a
Yes.
different guy?
And then Greg from E3D replies about 2 days later because that's how
Like on
long
a
it took him
comment,
to calm
or-
down. Yes. And just gives him the most British fuck off ever.
It's beautiful. Joe sends me and goes, you see this? I was like, that is the greatest British fuck you I've ever seen.
It's so polite and to the point.
Yes.
And
He's been in customer service for a while. If he's got
Well, the
that
whole thing
tongue.
is Greg, like, that's his blood, sweat, and tears.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
He
his
has
baby.
put so much work into that tool changer, and it's like, and I've seen it in projects that we've worked on and stuff like that, where people will just be like, "Oh, well, clearly you just didn't think of it. You just did something stupid just to do it." It's like,
no.
no.
Well, and he was-
there's a reason why we did 50 fucking iterations. There's a
Yeah.
reason why there was 30 beta testers.
Hang on. Your beta tests are supposed to be your companies if you're taken from the Chinese companies.
Yes.
Just send it. Just
but
send
look-
it, okay? Fix it in production.
But how many parts changed from that 30?
Right.
Those first 30 units, you got one. Tony Atkins got one, and from those two printers that you guys received, there's quite a few parts that changed from the release units.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look.
Like they,
Yeah, there was like complete like redesigns of the carriage.
But-
like,
Yeah.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. It's like we, like one thing that bothers me is people complaining about like our boards. Like, why didn't you use the 2209s? Why didn't you do this? It's like we didn't. Like I made a whole. There's like a whole 2-page article on our site of why we went with the 2208s, and it's because we didn't rush it out the door. We tested that board for 10 months in house. We sent them out to friends that I knew what they were doing. Our engineer had them. I had multiple boards. People here had multiple boards, and I ran the board for almost a year before we even sold anything to anybody.
Right.
And the reason we went with the 2208s is because that's what we tested it with. If I swap that to the 2209,
Start
it's
over.
I can't be like, yes, it's been tested. Well, tested with 2208s, and we just decided to swap them out. And I'm glad we didn't, because the first few batches of 2209s, they were having yield issues, and there was actually a bug in the chip that they had to go back and fix. So the new 2209 chips now are another revision of that same chip. So like I can't remember what the exact bug is. Griffin sent me like an article on it, but it was like the drivers were stalling out or something, and they had to make an actual change to the chip, not firmware, the chip.
Oh wow.
It was-
a physical change.
Wasn't there a large manufacturer that pretty much bought all the yield that was good?
Prusa did.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prusa
So
bought
it's
them all
like
out.
when you're fighting against a company like that where they're buying 100,000 units worth and the time that you may buy 1,000.
We couldn't even get them.
No, yeah. But a lot of people don't understand, it's like the development process for a product, it's not a week. It's
No.
not.
It is if you're Big Tree Tech or Fudge Tech.
Yeah, but we also saw the videos where you did the burn-in tests on their boards, and they
Yeah.
didn't do fucking well.
Well, and those
that was
companies.
more. I just want to be clear. That was more for fun, and even though I have got like a million disclaimers in the video, people are still like, "Well, they no one's going to push it through that." Even though I have like a million disclaimers saying I bypassed fuses, and your printer bed at most is going to pull 15 amps on like stock beds.
Yeah.
It was more just showing off the core design, because when you start cranking a ton of current through these boards, what starts happening is you see how weak the low copper count is, you see how
Yeah.
weak the MOSFETs are, and on some of the boards, the trace is burned up. Not the part itself. The traces that handle that current were so thin that they just gave up the ghost.
Yeah, but a lot of people, like I said, there are a lot of people, they don't understand the development process and like how intense it can be.
Yeah.
But on top of that, when we're developing things, yes, we can do one better part here, but there's also sometimes there's a whole line of things that have to change to make that capable. And on top of that, it's like if the 2208 works just as well as the 2209.
Which if you have end stops, it does.
Yeah, so if it works well, if
and
it's
centralist
a little
homing
bit
is a
cheaper,
gimmick
it's
anyway.
like just do it.
Stallguard's or centralist homing is not very accurate either. I don't know if you've ever seen
Well,
a print
hey, Joe,
resume
what do
on
you think about
MK3.
centralist homing?
Yeah,
How does it work on things with multiple heads?
It's a dumpster fire.
Yep.
because it's only accurate within one full step of the motor, so you're at like 0.2 millimeters
And when you're
of
tool
accuracy.
changing, when you're tool changing,
Okay, so with the tool changer, it's bad for two reasons. One, your pickup locations, you have maybe a 0.5 millimeter of tolerance. Maybe. So,
and I've heard people have less than that.
oh, yeah, that's why I said maybe. So, that full step, that might be the difference between picking up and dropping aux successfully or taking the tool back with you when you pull out or crashing on your way in.
So can you get 0.45 degree stepper motors? Because that's pretty much what you would need.
I mean, I think you could.
I've
Replace
seen,
some 0.9s.
But like most of the people with the tool changers replace their 0.9s with 1.8s.
Really?
Just-
Why is that?
I don't understand this.
For torque and quiet.
So like that's what I don't get. There's like fads that ripple through the communities, and I try to shut them down because one of them is now people are like, I'm going to change my lead screw out to
Yeah.
a different pitch because it's going to make my Z so much more accurate. It doesn't matter. And I told some people, they're like, why don't we care? I'm like, because if I thought it actually made a difference, it would be in our store already.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. Like when I was starting out, was 3 years ago. The ANET people were like, I'm changing them out, and I bought some. I put it on. I was like, there's no difference.
So like literally, the difference between an M5 threaded rod and a precision lead screw is minimal if you have a properly constrained Z-axis.
Yeah.
And your rods are straight.
Properly constrained Z-axis. The threaded rod, if your Z-axis is right,
It shouldn't
won't matter.
overcome
You should. It's somewhere in here, but you should watch the video I did on Woody over there, which is an $80 CTC printer that I got from China. I bought it as a gag. We had a stream where we had a budget of $250 to buy a printer on AliExpress and a bunch of upgrades. A lot of the upgrades just got given away because they were so bad. One of them was a $7 BL Touch knockoff that didn't work.
I remember this. Yes.
There was a Bondtech clone that the tolerances were off, so instead of remaking the parts, they just super glued the bearings in place. Not all the way into the injection molded part because it was too deep. So they just put them in roughly far enough and then super glued in place. Well, then the super glue got in the bearing and the bearing was crunchy.
What the hell?
So if you watch that stream, it's funny. And then it took like a month for everything to get in. The printer shipped from the U.S. I think with shipping it was like $100. But it didn't have lead screws. It had like threaded rod.
Yeah.
That was machined off, and they didn't even have couplers. There was a piece of aquarium airline
Yes.
that was shoved onto the end.
That was very popular for a while.
This was a thing in like the first gen Prusa
know.
i3s.
Yeah,
that was
no.
how it was.
Well, I remember people were when the
I have a
early
whole bunch of
couplers were really getting out there, and I remember seeing a lot of YouTube videos where people were like, you know, these couplers, they suck. Buy this aquarium. It's like, what are you doing?
the Taz 3 was aquarium tube.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Like
It was aquarium tube with M6 threaded rod.
how crazy like the change
it
was
worked
from
great.
but going from like 3 to the 6, and like they went with the Masumi stepped lead screws, the 12 mil stepped lead screws. I bought one of those things. And like the coupler and everything you need for that, and how it had an actual step in it, so you could do like a thrust bearing and stuff
yeah?
like that. And it's like that system was probably $100 for a lead screw.
The lead screw itself was $95.
Yeah, so it's like how crazy it went from
The thing was,
an aquarium tube
all
that
of
worked.
all of the Z-wobble issues were from that screw.
Oh, I bought it. I put it on a printer. I was like, this is hot trash.
Yeah.
And that is why we do not, like, there's a discussion now where people are like, we should get the stepped lead screw for the ZLT printers. Because it takes the weight off the stepper motors, which, yes, it does. But now you're adding, the part that's holding the bearing, the thrust bearing, and the lead screw that can all change. You're adding more parts into a motion system that could cause issues.
So we had a whole discussion about this on an early episode, but like a properly constrained lead screw is constrained in a few locations. And the problem with the Lulzbot lead screw was, one, it was the same diameter as the linear rod for the Z.
Yeah.
So
which they fought each other.
Yeah, they fought each other, and it was actually made out of a harder steel, the
Yes.
screw was, than the linear rod, so it was stronger. So it could defeat the linear constrainment. And the top is captured. So any wobble is transferred into the axis. And when I was an engineer there, I sat down with Moons, and No, like
I know. I was just.
I'm not trying to be a pretentious dick. Not
I was
this
just
time.
making fun of the other pretentious dicks we talked about.
Yeah,
this weekend.
when I worked there, I sat down with Moons and we redesigned the Z-axis of the Tau 6 together.
Yeah.
Because Moons was looking at making their linear or their lead screws, and we said like, all right, here's the issues that we're currently seeing, and here's why I think. And you have 2 capture points with the linear constrainment or the axial constrainment in the motor itself. There's a bearing at the top and the bottom, so that's 2. And then you have your flexi coupler, which should stay flexi. There should not be any connection between the motor shaft and the bottom of the screw. And then you have that first bearing that takes all of the axial load, and that's right. And then your next constrainment point should be your lead nut, and then there should be nothing at the top.
Yeah. And a lot of people have wanted to do the ZLTs and the rail, like all our rail cores. They're like, we wanted to put a bearing at the top. It's like, no. And here's why. And like,
People will argue with you for days about
I
it.
know.
Unless in
and it's
general,
like, have you tried it? No.
Yeah.
in general, unless you're running like a belt, like I have printers here where I do linkage at the top for dual Z.
Yes.
Unless there's some sort of linkage going on, your rod should float.
Yes.
So I have 2 benchies sitting on the table here in front of us. So the blue one is what came off of the wood printer
Good
stock.
Lord.
And the funny thing is when you go on Thingiverse and
That
search
is
for
an M5 wobble right there.
So when you go on Thingiverse and look up parts for this printer, all the pictures of people's prints off this printer have that same exact wobble. So the main thing, I have the second benchy here is I changed the lead screws out. I had some Ender 3 ones, and I took my Sawzall, cut them down, and then ground them off, and I replaced those.
Fancy. I cut the lead screws down to proper length.
I
With
did.
a saw.
With a Sawzall.
All of my printers that have like lead screws added to them, the lead screws stick out like 6 inches out of the top.
Well, if you look at Barney up on my top shelf there, you see those. I didn't put those.
yeah.
like that.
They're just to send it. But
So that's way better.
So
That's a pretty damn good benchy.
I know that came off that wood printer. So basically, that benchy was printed. It had some salmon skin, so I added some smoothers onto it. Put a layer fan on it and replaced the lead screws. So replacing the lead screws, layer fan, and smoothers. That's the print quality I got off an $80 printer. So all in, that's what a $140 printer will print.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So like,
It prints. There's less artifacts on it than my MK3.
yeah. No, it does look really well.
Right?
Yeah.
Would you?
So
What would you think that came? If I told you which one of these printers you think?
I would think it would come off of an Ender 3 before final tuning. Because you can get fucking amazing shit off of an Ender 3.
Which is just sad.
Yeah.
Makes me so mad.
You're like
Yeah.
these Chinese.
So, like-
but I have one now because I sold out to the Chinese devils.
I sold out to Woot. All right,
Yeah.
I didn't buy.
And
I
now
bought,
Tim.
Yeah, and
It
now
makes
Tim.
me happy that you shop on Woot because I feel I've been on Woot since they started, and
Yes.
I have the app on their phone. I got my wife a weighted blanket off Woot as a Christmas gift.
I
She
have
took
so
it with
many
her.
Woot shirts.
I have half of my T-shirts I own are probably from Woot.
Yep, same.
So, like one of the biggest advantages to the rail cores is like the way we constrain our Z's.
Yeah,
So, like the ZLs, they come standard with the printed Z yokes. But one of my first upgrades I suggest to people is just get the aluminum ones, because like in the ZLTs it's required. That's bog standard, mainly because getting a 700 millimeter lead screw that doesn't have somewhat of a bow to it.
Yeah.
I don't care. I couldn't get it from Masumi.
it's got some flippity flop.
It's got some flippity flop. Even if it doesn't straight off from the shop, UPS, FedEx, and USPS really know how. It's a value added service.
It is.
If you had a straight lead screw, they will value add a bow for you.
Oh yeah.
You could
So-
also just order them from ANET.
Yeah, I'm sure. So like,
They do that before shipping.
yeah. Oh. Well, that just means I'm getting less value out of the price I'm paying for shipping.
The lead screws on my AA Plus are actually from Ziltech.
Yes.
And you could tell they cut them, but they for $30. I'm not complaining. Came with there. But to get to ANET's benefit, I was like, hey, lead screw is really bowed. They were like, we can send you some out. Then they never did. There was a holiday or something. And then I just bought them, and I was like, hey, did you send it out? They said, no. I said, I bought ones from the U.S. they were $30, and they sent me a $30 refund. So
Oh, wow.
on a
All right.
$240 300 by 300 by I think it's 350 or
And
400.
they still probably made $100 on that printer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel and I'm not gonna lie. When I was doing that printer, I was like, it was like I was being a little nostalgic because my first printer was an ANET A8, and there's like really similarities to it. I'm like, it takes me back.
Which is just crazy because like, Joe, what was your first printer?
A Prusa Mindel first one.
Yeah, mine was one of the old wood. Like that Woody reminds me so much of my printer, my first printer, because that was standard back then, right?
Yeah.
And it was just a knockoff Prusa that some company in the U.S. made. And
I think I know what you're trying. It was like Rep Guru or something like that. No,
it was some company out of.
Is it Maker Farm?
It was Up
Maker Farm sounds-
One.
Oh.
Up One. That's old. They're not around anymore.
No,
are
they are. Thank God they are not. So
How is M3D still around?
I think they just have stock they're trying to dump.
If they had
But-
stock, they would ship orders.
They don't.
That's true.
Well, they don't even sell the Maestro anymore. Like the
No,
Duet finally took
Duet
that
took
over.
that away from them.
There's people on Reddit that are like,
Yeah.
Drive the penis.
they're like, I got my Crane Quad, and the order date is like June 2018,
Yeah.
and they just got it like last week.
Oh man.
Chris, what was your first printer?
My first printer was.
Let's not talk about Chris's first printer.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, what year did you get your first printer?
That would have been the first year that I was around in space. So that would have been
2015.
either 2014 or 2015.
So you're looking
somewhere
at
in there.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And Joe, you're what, 8, 9
Yeah.
years, and I'm right around the same time,
You guys got me all.
which
beat.
is crazy because when Tim told me his first printer was an A8, and I was like, to me that was I feel like that was just a short
Yes.
time ago that I started getting an influx of people like, can you fix my A8?
Yeah.
But we only want to pay $40 to fix it because it only cost us $100.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
I paid
like
$200 for my AA.
But Tim started with an A8, which was probably 4 years ago.
I bought my ANET A8 through AliExpress at the end of 2016.
Okay, end of 2016. So you're looking at 3 years.
A little over
really.
3 years for
3
me.
years. And TH3D is no slouch in parts. Like,
Yeah.
if you need something for your Enders or your Crealities or something like that,
Most
who do you-
Chinese machines that are popular.
What do you go to? Like,
go to Amazon and buy the same crap that came on it?
Yeah, you can do that. Or you can go on AliExpress and buy crap that you really get no support with.
Yeah.
And you really don't know when it's going to come because a slow boat from China is slow.
My main thing with AliExpress, here's one of the driving factors.
I'm trying to promote your store here. And you're just being an asshole and stepping all over me. What I'm trying
really-
to say is go to Tim's store. He's doing a lot of work
Oh,
and he's only been around
stop
for
shilling,
3
Joe.
years.
We're not shilling on our podcast, Joe.
But
Really? Really?
The amount of times I've said this without an affiliate link, I'm losing money now.
Joe doesn't even have
we
an
just found
affiliate.
out that
I
there's
don't even have-
affiliate leaks this week.
I don't even get an affiliate link. I just shill his stuff.
So what actually started the company was I made the mistake of posting my CR10 that's over here that's mounted on the melamine board. I bought a CR10 from Tiny Machines. I think I can't remember if that was my second or third printer, but the Barney printer up there that's aluminum, that was the iMaker Smart, iMaker Start. I call it the Smart because it's a metal frame now. So it was basically a mini A8 with no heated bed. My
Wasn't that,
buddy
like,
bought one too.
super cheap,
It was
weren't they?
$90.
Yeah.
Okay.
No heated bed. You can go grab it. It's disconnected right now. I got to replace the RAM board
Is
with
that the
it.
purple one?
The purple one.
Barney.
Yeah.
I mean, like, would
So-
anything else be called Barney?
So
up
my
there?
first
Yeah, I get it now.
my first machines were the iMaker Start, which was $90. I think the iMaker was my second one. And so my buddy
boy.
bought
Jesus
it.
Christ.
My buddy bought
That
it.
cluster of wires.
It's amazing.
This is beautiful.
And I think that was my second machine, and my logic was, well, if my A8 goes down, I want something to be able to print parts, and it was like I think 100 by 110.
Yeah.
And then my buddy Max also bought one, and then so what we ended up doing was, and he got bored and he knows how to use SolidWorks, so he modeled up all these parts. He's like, let's do a metal frame conversion on this. So that's what it is now, and the thing prints great. That's why I keep it around. But the board, there's something wrong with the ramps board because it's ramps and
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so you.
But that's how old it is. I put ramps there. The MKS boards were not really out when I converted all this. But then I went to the CR10. It's just back on topic. So CR10 was my third one. I bought it right after Murph because there was a guy that had one at Murph. No one had heard of Creality at that time. It hadn't blown up yet. And he had one. He's like, dude, there's this company called Tiny Machines in Texas. And you can get it from them. So I bought it from them. The second day I stripped everything down. I put a MKS Gen 1.4 in there and soldered up a little Opto IC board and put a capacitive sensor on there to do bed leveling. And then I did a nice vase print on it. And people were like, how'd you get bed leveling on this printer? Because the beds were so warped. They're terrible. And so I started making one-off kits, it wasn't really a kit. It was just like, here, I can throw together hardware for you, and here's the firmware I cobbled together because no one was in the communities, anyways, of the CR10s. No one knew how to strip down Marlin to make it fit on the 1284. So you go to compile it, and it's just there's too much. So that's what started. Like everybody asking me to make these ABL setups for them, and then my experience of dealing with AliExpress on ordering a hot end and it's not what I ordered or the stuff is completely different from the photos.
You order a 3D printer and they send you an AV cable.
Or a bicycle support. I must say, looking at Barney, you spent $99 on this printer, correct?
Yeah, there's probably another
There's
120.
There's $99 worth of 90-degree 2020 aluminum brackets on here. There's more than that. And
That's all Misumi extrusion.
Oh, God.
So there's another $30 in extrusion. But on top of that, the insulation for your silent
Those are the smoothers. Because it's got 8825s on it. There's no Trinamics. The Trinamics weren't even a thing when I put this together.
Look at that insulation. It's beautiful.
Electrical tape.
It's just electrical tape wrapped around it.
I love this printer. Is so much character. It's so cobbled together.
I mean, from here,
If you notice,
it
the Raspberry
looks
Pi
half decent.
The Raspberry Pi's audio jack is gone, so that's why it's on the printer for Octoprint. And the Power Spy is actually a Power Spy from a 1U server chassis that I repurposed.
Nice.
And the Pi runs off the 5-volt standby.
Excellent.
But what I do also love is that the print that holds the Raspberry Pi and the Ramps board is bigger than the bed of this printer.
It was printed on my CR10. All the parts on that were printed in purple inland PET G on my CR10 at a 0.3 layer height. And those are the original parts. I've never reprinted any of them.
I must say, you've done a lot in the last 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't. I have a problem where there's never. I'm just going to kind of get into something. This is not my life.
Problem. Joe, are you familiar with that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, me either.
Can you explain more?
Oh, hang on. Let me finish my thought before we went off on another tangent.
There's a lot of tangents.
But the whole reason why I started carrying other
Tangent
parts,
cast.
the whole reason I started carrying other parts was I personally was tired of getting not what I ordered or stuff coming broken and then having to deal with Chinese support, if that's even worth calling support.
Right.
So the whole thing was I started carrying other stuff because I was tired of getting screwed around and other people were. So that's why we started expanding, like just from the ABL kits. It was just supposed to be like, when people wanted the kits, it was just like, oh, cool, I can pay for the hobby just by making some one-off boards here. But then I bought a batch of like 20 and they sold out in like 5 minutes and my site crashed like 6 times. And so I was like, okay, well, then I took the money the profit I made from that and ordered 100. And I stocked 100 and they were out of stock in like 5 or 6 hours. Like, my site was just insane. It was on shared hosting on DreamHost, and it was just tanking. Everybody was like, I can't even order one. And that happened like 5 more times. I did like batches of 100. So I was working 40, 50 hours a week as an IT manager, coming home and soldering up boards. I was doing them on perf board for a while, and then I learned I didn't know how to do a PCB design.
Endurance laser style.
It wasn't worse. It was actually better than their stuff, but yeah, I had to learn how to do PCB design in like the period of like 2 weeks. So dove into that because I was like, I can't keep doing these perf boards.
I think you need
Would you like to talk on the podcast?
How long has Aaron's been trying to do PCB design for how long? He's not here to defend himself. That's what happens when you get white girl wasted.
But the point was the community demand and everybody bothering me because they wanted these sensors and didn't like. You got to remember, the Creality printers opened up a world for the average person that wants to use them as a tool and not just the tinkerers to 3D printers. And like what we focus on is being able to provide people with stuff that works, with documentation, with technical support, to the person that isn't just tinkering. We have a lot of tinkerers, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's a lot of people that I don't want to spend 8 hours learning how to do Marlin and solder up a board and get all the tools to solder to the board and hope I don't fry anything, because there were a lot of people when we came to when we came out with it, I was like, okay, this is an actual product now. It was like weird. It's like I launched a product.
Yeah.
And then there was people like, can you just send me the schematic? Can you send me the PCB? I was like, no, I just spent a ton of time on this. And then like the guy's like, fine, I'll figure it out on my own. And then a week later, I see he fried his board because he sent the wrong voltage into things. And I was just like,
there's a reason you're doing this. So you've enabled people like my dad, who just recently got a printer, to do
we got
this
a lot
stuff.
of retired guys. There's a lot of, and they're great. Like they'll call in and they're just, I've had some of the guys, I'm like on the phone with them and it's like, oh, we've been on the phone for 3 hours. I got to get back to work.
Yeah.
He's like telling me about his model airplanes and, all this other cool stuff, and I wish I could talk to people about all this stuff. I love talking about it, but it's like, man, I have to go work now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've fallen into those traps a couple of times. I had a guy in Chicago who's like, he calls me, he's like, I want to buy a rail core. I was like, let's talk this out.
Yeah.
Let's talk this out.
Pump the brakes.
Because I don't know. Have
that-
you ever 3D printed something? He goes, no. I was like, all right, I'm going to talk to you about Prusa. There's also this place called Lulzbot. This was about a year ago.
Speaking of noobs and lulzbots, there's a certain lulzbot vendor that told me there was a customer that they sold the lulzbot to that was bothering their support so much that lulzbot paid them to get the printer back from them just so they could stop dealing with the customer.
Oh, wow.
It was like a Tez 6 too, so it was like the $2,500 machine.
Holy crap.
They're like,
how
we
do you
will
have so many problems?
There was no problems with the printer.
They just work.
It was the user.
Oh, I've had that. I had a guy. He is well known now. He's a lot better now. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Where he had bought a Railcore kit and did not want to listen to the people. He wouldn't listen to us. He wouldn't listen to the Railcore Labs guys. He wouldn't listen to Mandela, Roseworks. Like while he couldn't get his rails.
Was he an
aligned.
engineer? Did he open the emails with as an
Oh,
engineer?
I'm sure he did a couple of those. But like the whole time we're like, all you have to do is this. And his first response was, well, of course it's me. Of course it's not the printer. It's like, dude, there's 300 of these. 300 of these were with this issue's non-existent.
Yeah.
And then finally, a third party person who didn't work for any of us, just sat him down and talked him through it. And he became like, he's very responsive in the community now. He helps out other people out with things and stuff like that. But this was right before Murph last year. And like the week before Murph, they talked him off the ledge. And he's like, oh, I'm just going to sell it. And I was like, dude, bring it to Murph. I'll buy it off of you. Just so we don't have to deal with
I feel like I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
And it's like, but the one nice thing about the price point of the Railcore is if somebody's going to buy it, they have intentions for it and they have experience and they know I'm going to spend $2,600 on this fully kitted out Railcore as a kit that I'm going to build. And it's like, that's helped us out a lot because it's like we have a lot less issues that are just like, I plugged this wire into the wrong place type of thing.
Yeah.
And when they do that,
They're a little more careful with it because it's more, they're invested.
A couple weeks ago, there was somebody on the Discord or on the forum for Duet who did plug the wire in the wrong way, and someone's like, "Oh, you plugged the wire in the wrong way," and he's like, "Yeah, my fuck up." But there's other times like I've heard some stories from Tim where people are like, "I plugged this wire into this thing." It's like that plug doesn't even fit.
Yeah. Did you deep pin the wires?
Right. It's like that's like a DuPont connector and you're sticking a JSD on it. What are you doing?
How?
but then they'll argue with you and tell you, no, I'm right. It's like, I design like Tim designed that stuff, and you're like, they'll argue with you all day.
Here's and this is something that I've noticed, and why when we do start selling printers, they're not going to be inexpensive. They're not going to be crazy, but they're probably going to be around $800 to $1,000.
You have to.
Well, and here's the thing that and other retailers in any space will tell you this, is that the lower price point you get, the more people you get that don't know what they're doing and are...
It's normally beginners.
Well, it's not just beginners. It's more... I'm okay with the person that doesn't know anything, but is willing to learn and isn't going to yell and scream at me because they're ignorant.
Yes,
but the problem is...
the choosing beggars thing.
Yes.
Like when we clearanced out those artillery AL4s, we were very upfront, like, hey, we're doing these checks on them and that. Here's what you should check when you get it. Like, there might be some loose bolts. We're not doing all this because we're selling these at a loss, and it's a lot of printer for the money. But we got people that just bought it that didn't know what they were doing because it was a cheap printer, and it's like you bit off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
Like, if you want, like, there was multiple people, I was like, fine, send it back. If it's broken, I'll void out the all sales are fine. I'll give you a refund. But if there's nothing major wrong with it, then we can't do that. It was very clear that these are clearance. If you need the stipulation was, anything fails within 30 days or is broken, I'll send you new parts. Or if you want to source parts yourselves, I'll reimburse you.
Right.
I thought that was very reasonable for a printer that we were selling for $300 that was loaded with a ton of features and big build volume too.
Yeah.
So, but the problem is you get these lower price points. And I can only imagine what Creality's email queue looks like, because you get a lot of people that I don't know what causes it, but it's like the lower the price is, the more people you get that just don't want to put time into it.
Yep.
Whereas if you spend more money, if I'm spending $1,000 on a printer, I'm doing research, I'm doing, looking up information and taking things a little slower versus these other people that are rushing in because it's not that much money. And there's something to be said about selling super cheap stuff in general, versus something that's a higher quality product that costs more.
Yeah.
There's like a mental thing where, I spent $1,000 on this, I'm going to take my time and be more careful versus, this is a $300 printer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you're going to get, there's a lot of people that are going to get frustrated over a $20 part and a $2,000 part that even if it's bad, they're going to complain. But the whole thing is like, when they buy the $2,000 part, they're going to go, well, I spent $2,000 on this. I'm going to read the directions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be careful. And they buy the $20 part and it doesn't work because they screwed something up. They're gonna complain like it's a $2,000 part. You've ruined their weekend.
I don't understand it. Like the whole concept of literally every warranty length and what's covered, what includes tech support, because not all of our stuff includes like blanket, we're going to help you with every little thing. Like if I'm selling you a $20 hot end, I'm not going to hold your hand for 5 hours trying to get it working. We set up communities that you can go in and get help, and they're all active. Like we've got forums, Discord, Facebook groups, like covered pretty much every gamut that people could want to use.
Yeah.
And they all have thousands of people in them. The forum, I think we're up to about 500. It's relatively new, but Discord, 2,000 plus people in there.
I don't know how you keep those streams sane. Like I can't keep up with Discord. Like it's just a stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
You set up multiple channels, you break it down. So like if you go in our, there's like 30 different sections. We have like, the MKS boards broken out, BL touch sensor support broken out, Easy ABL, our boards, our product discussion. We also have fun stuff in there. Like we have a channel called Show Off and First Layer Porn, and we have some fun stuff, and there's a lot of people that are willing to help out. And, it's really frustrating for me because I want to help everybody, but the reality is I can't spend, and my other guys can't spend, even an hour on a part that we sold for $30.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable. So what we do is we set up the communities and be like, here, this is where you go to get help. If there's a warranty issue where something's broken, then absolutely contact us.
Right.
And I think that's reasonable, and some people get really frustrated, and where I'm going with this is, like I have a Samsung Galaxy S10, come with a 1-year warranty. Phone was $900. If I'm out of warranty and it breaks, that's it. Like, I'm not going to go yell and scream at Samsung. It was a 1-year warranty. But I don't get why is we get a lot of people that have stuff that's out of warranty that's way less expensive than a $900 phone, but then yell and scream at us because like, well, we're out of warranty. Yeah, well, it's right there. I don't understand why that is a hard concept for people to understand. Like,
yeah. I mean, there's no good way of like even trying to understand that. Like,
it's frustrating because I
yeah.
want to help them,
absolutely.
and it's just like, I can do. We'll do discounts on stuff too, but if like the people usually turn around and get like they're like, well, I'm gonna try to open a credit card chargeback, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm
That's
gonna
the
go
crappiest
smear
thing.
you.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but when you open a credit card chargeback, that company gets charged. Like if someone opens a credit card chargeback against us, we immediately lose all the money from that sale plus a $15 charge. And if we win the chargeback, we get all that back. If we lose a chargeback for whatever reason, we are out all the money, the fee, and the product. They
And
do not
the-
make them. They do not force the customer then to send back the product. So we had a guy that was in Canada ordered $150 worth of stuff. Contacted our support, had tons of evidence that we sent it, he got it, we helped him out. Month and a half later, he opens a credit card dispute. We're out all the money we paid for the product, the shipping, the fees, the chargeback fee. That $150 order ended up, we were out about $210.
Not counting the time you guys put into fighting the chargeback.
Right.
The time you guys spent helping him set everything up. The time the employee you paid to pack it.
Right.
None
yeah,
of that.
and you know the reality is like that's what people do, and we'll end up just blacklisting them. We'll block them from the site and everything, and that's really all we can do.
Yeah.
You know, especially when they're international, there's not much we can do. You know, but the people know that. People that are shitty know that.
Yeah. And now everybody knows it because you said it on the podcast. All right. Aaron's messaging me for food. He is apparently alive.
Alive is probably a questionable statement.
Does he want to come on the podcast?
I offered. He has not come. I have to pee, and we're about at time. So, is there anything else? Are you guys
We've
want
just
to
been
add?
rambling. Like, it's been fun.
I'm like, this is every day at Tim's house when I
Yeah.
come over.
Yeah, usually Joe's like, I should probably go home. It's like midnight.
Yeah. But, like,
Well, no, I'll say I should probably leave. It's 10 o'clock, and 1:30 I pull into the driveway, and Nicole's like, "What?"
like when Joe brought all of my stuff to Earth for me, and we met up like halfway in between our houses because you're like 3 hours away from us, and like
Two, yeah.
I would get a text message from my wife like 3.5 hours later, like, why aren't you home yet? And I'm like, I'm still at the truck stop talking to Joe.
We're at a dimly lit parking lot in the middle of what town was that?
Right outside of Pontiac, I
Right,
think.
yeah, we were right outside of Pontiac.
So middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Middle of fucking nowhere.
Middle of nowhere, yeah.
Yeah, at this truck stop that has just like one light over us. Our cars are sitting off to the side, and we're just standing outside, just talking.
And it's cold,
talking.
and the owners of the gas stations are like coming out and looking at us,
and,
going back.
and we're just out there just
bullshitting,
yeah.
bullshitting about printers.
we were out.
And it
when-
didn't change this time. I went and dropped it back off.
No, it was the same deal.
It's the same deal.
Well, when we went up to the shop for you guys to do your shopping,
Yeah, that ended up
Jim
taking
goes,
an
he's
hour.
like, "Oh man, I've been out here for an hour."
And that's a short trip. That's a
Yeah.
short trip. Like, and of course I had to go out. I come here once a week, and bullshit
not
with Tim, if not more.
Joe, do you still
There's-
think that Joe and I hate us? Each other?
You never know. You never know.
It's like I think Joe messaged me. He's like, "You and Tim cool?" I'm like, "Yeah, I literally just got back from his shop." But what's weird is how often like Tim started his company like around the same time we started ours. Like, well, you formed the company after we formed ours, but you started doing the stuff around the same
I think
time.
I sold like the first, what would be an official
I have
kit.
to pee. I'm going to bail from the podcast. Chris, you can close it out. You can do
Okay.
both
You
sides.
good.
I will be.
I think it was
Maybe
like,
I'll be back. I don't know.
it was like May or June of 2017.
Yeah, we formed in 2016, and but I mean like it's weird because I found you online. I was like, "There's this company in Chicago, this small company that started out."
Yeah.
and it's Aaron, and so I messaged him. I was like, "I'm also near Chicago. We should talk." And then what? 6 months later, 6 months later, he goes, "I'm moving to Hobart." I was like, "That's down the road from me." And then it still took us another like 4 months to meet up. The first time I actually saw you in person is you were running through Murph with a fire extinguisher.
I was just giving that to ANAT.
Yes, you were. And Joe, like, Jim from Edutech, that's the first time I saw Jim from Edutech. He was running behind you with the camera.
Yeah.
And then Joe walks past and he goes, Tim's giving ANAT a fire extinguisher. I was like, that's amazing.
We stopped on the way to pick that up.
That's oh man.
I thought you ran out after you saw ANAT was there because I was like, we should all do
I
that.
heard they
And
were
just
going to be
surround
there,
it.
and then like on the way, I found out they were going to be there, and I
I
was
believe
like,
Dave also had a fire extinguisher sitting between his booth and ANAT's just in case.
just yeah, he did. I think he
'Cause
bought that because
Dave
I told
knows.
him. I sent him a picture of a fire extinguisher. I was like, I'm on my way to Murph. He's like, what's that for? I was like, it's for ANAT, and he just dies. He's just laughing his ass off.
fuck.
Yeah, Dave knows the truth.
Well, man, it's been over an hour, and it's been a fucking awesome weekend.
finally made it.
Yeah, you finally come in. I'm closing this out, dude. I want food too.
Good morning, sweetheart.
But we will for sure be back. I know one of the things that we want to do is we want to do a shop tour video with you and just kind of like show off like you guys' cool operation. We've been over there a couple times already.
I just need to know so we can have it all cleaned up.
They need to fake the shit out of it.
We're gonna have like Pimp My Shot coming through. Like,
I've got like I was gonna do like a little tour when we were like in the condo still, so I've got like hairnets and like lab coats and stuff that I was gonna make all the guys wear.
I have Class A
put on your
haz-
booties before you walk in,
Yes.
please.
I have a few Class A hazmat suits. Like the coffin with a view. I have those.
Oh man! But thank you guys for having us out. Thank you for being on the podcast. And yeah, I think that's where we're gonna close it out. Aaron, you're on it, so you have to say your phrase.
All right. With that, drink responsibly.
The most ironic phrase this weekend.
Keep making stuff, guys.